Start recording as well as start going live. We'll be live in about 2 seconds.
Okay.
So it's good to see you, by the way. You can see me well, yeah? The light's good?
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, I've been following you on the Facebook page and listening to some of your ones. I saw the interview with Leah and Bernardo, which is awesome. So that was cool.
Nice. Great people.
Yeah,
Great.
they are. That's why I say that was entertaining for me because it was just, kind of being part of that where she's in there and talking about it. And then all of a sudden, it finally comes to fruition is what she did. So it was kind of, getting to see the whole journey of it. It's really cool.
I must agree. There was a lot of the change and a lot of interesting things that went into it that I know we didn't get to talk about when we were doing the live interview, but I think people could sense and pick up. I just want to make sure that the video is on online. Oh, there we are. We are on. People are watching. So um, welcome, Brian. Thank you for taking the time and meeting with us. I'm really grateful that you're able to be here with us. You have a spectacular story, and it's a journey of change and transformation that, frankly, it was really you becoming the real you and letting go of this false, identity or false, some may call it habit, right? Or behavior that you just had for a little bit, for a while, and then you let it go. So if you would, tell us a little bit about what happened, like really big picture, and then we'll dive into the detail. Like, could you tell us big picture, like where was your life at before training, a little bit, if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
and then where was your life after?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me and asking me to interview it. I feel very honored. But yeah, quite a journey. Um, and yeah, before training, I guess you can say I was, I was thinking about it a lot lately, just how we are programmed. Um, we accept, we listen to TV, we listen to media, and they are very good at programming, unconsciously programming you to do things that they want you to do, whether it's buy things or do things. So, yeah, you could say that before the training, I really, I thought I was okay and I was doing things normal, but I did allow myself to establish habits. And I look back at it now, that's exactly what they were. They just became habits to me. The abuse of alcohol just became a habit. It was something that I did that, I thought, I rationalized it out in my mind. I did different things that I could, make it okay. But it was, to feel better about myself because I didn't, look at certain areas of my life and resolve those problems. And so, like I say, the unconscious mind wants to protect you from that. I was trying to help it along, in my way, which wasn't the right way to do it. And I think all people who have the so-called addictions, which really aren't addictions, it's choices that we choose to make ourselves feel better because of situations that we're not handling personally. And so I was that way before the training.
How long were they, if I may ask real quick, how long did you have that habit
Um,
of using
at
alcohol?
least probably 20 years off and on, and before the training, I really at the point to where I finally contacted you and you came in and said, Brian, we can change this. It's not as hard as you think. We can do that. At that point, I really didn't know if I could change. I really was just going to go along with the standard, the protocols that they have, go get abstinence, kind of get off of it. And then, just, kind of white knuckle it out, which I think, a lot of people in AA and those things are doing. I'm glad they want to rely on a higher source and they turn to God to help them through it, but they're still white knuckling it because they're not changing the behaviors that are actually causing them to do it. And there it gets into a lot. You get into a lot of shame and guilt, which just kind of creates a vicious circle. And if there's anybody listening out there that has a problem with alcohol or drugs, they know exactly what I'm talking about. You feel guilty for using it. You feel bad about yourself. You have a low self-esteem. So therefore, to feel better, you turn back to whatever makes you feel happy, which is usually, a drug or things. Other people are addicted to other things. Some people, they get upset and they do things. They go work out in the gym for an hour or 2 hours, and that might be a good habit, right? Other people are just workaholics, if they get upset about something, they'll go, find something to do in their work, and that's their release. That's just kind of how we deal with things. So when we turn to the other ones, it's just that's the choice that we made, and we can change those choices. So yeah, for that being gone on that long, it was just like I say, it basically just became a habit. I mean, if I felt bad or I did something, I knew that was going to get me out of it, and so I went to that. But I didn't know, like I say, now with the training, I know I don't need to do that. I can deal with it other ways, deal with the issues that caused it.
Mm. Then what happened when we, I mean, could you tell us a little bit more about the time that we started working together and like what happened? Because I really want the viewers and the listeners to be able to hear how quickly you were able to transform, even though the system or the rest of the world says, "Hey, you can't. That's not possible. It's going to take longer and
Yeah.
whatever."
I used to kind of think the same thing, it's if you're working on something, you can't change easy, things take a long time. It's hard to do. Um, and I think maybe in some things, like if you're trying to play piano or do something like that, yeah, they say you have to do like 10,000 hours to become really proficient at something. But, you can accomplish those things. But, to get rid of, your desire for certain things doesn't take 10,000 hours. Literally takes 10 minutes. If you have somebody that, is doing the protocol on you. So in my mind, I always thought that, the mind was pretty strong. I always had a belief that we could do things because I would look back in my life and the things I really wanted to do, I did achieve those things. It was because I wanted to do those. And so my mind was focused upon achieving those things. And so unconsciously, my unconscious mind was working to help me achieve those things because that's what I truly desired. Um, and at the point to where well, I should probably tell my story is that when I met William, I was just getting ready to go into a rehab. And so I was at that point, I was so desperate. I wanted to really get rid of this. It was causing really problems in my life. It has caused problems in the past, financially, all kinds of things. So I really wanted to get rid of this. And it was really, even all my kids came to me and said, you got to get rid of this or, there's going to be consequences. So yeah, I was really in dire straits. So um, I remember when I first talked to you, the first thing you had me do is watch that Tony Robbins video, that 30-second one where he gets rid of the guy stuttering. I remember you said, watch this and then call me back. And so I remember watching that and I called you back and I go, that was amazing. If I could do that, I would love to do it. And you said, oh yeah, I could teach you to do that. And so I started to think, well, maybe there is something to this. But as it would happen, I already was, had to go off to rehab. And then when I went there, at least where I went, I did appreciate the fact that they kind of told me the same thing. They said, you guys don't have addictions. You just have really bad choices for how you escape your problems. And I really appreciated that because that was kind of the same thing you were telling me. It's like, we really don't have addictions. It's just things we choose to do. And if you choose to do them, they can become a habit, but that's not an addiction. That doesn't mean you can't get off of that. You can't do those things. And that's absolutely true. So when I went there and they were telling me, yeah, you don't have addictions, I was thinking, wow, this is really interesting. So actually, I think I was in rehab for 30 days when I finally went and told them that I was leaving to go do my NLP training. And I remember you actually came and saw me once, and that was a whole comical story we won't get into that.
It's actually cool because the head psychologist really likes me apparently, and he started referring people to me.
Yeah. So, but it was funny when they wanted all the notes and they were worried about, regressing into these dark places that I wouldn't be able to get pulled out of because, William doesn't have a degree in psychology and all this stuff that, they were worried about. And so that was funny, but I did tell them, I left them a choice. I said, I'm leaving and I can come back, or, I'm leaving and I'm just going to be gone. And so they actually accepted the fact that I was going to go and, do some training, do some things that were going to help me. And so I did leave. And then I went and I did my NLP training, which is where I got rid of the desire for the alcohol. And I did think that only took 10 minutes sitting there in the magic chair, the changing chair.
10 minutes. And your story actually was a huge testimonial to their head psychologist. And ever since you went there, he had all kinds of good things to say. He's like, oh, William. Anyway, that's another story. That's cool. So tell us a little bit about like what happened in those 10 minutes. Like, how did you get rid of it?
Well, I remember you telling me,
Not too
and
much
this is
detail,
for,
right? 'Cause it was
yeah,
getting
this is for the like to dislike. And I remember you asking me before, because I remember even when you first told me about it, you said, you know, I have this technique I can teach you really quick. It says, doesn't take, he said, it only takes like 5-10 minutes. And he says, and I could take anything that you really like and we can make it so you won't like it. And you asked me, what do you dislike? Now, I'm not going to try to offend anybody, but I really dislike coffee. That was my response to you. I said, oh, I just can't stand it. That's like the worst thing ever. If you can make it like that, I would never try it again. I just would not. It would not be even in my frame of reference in my mind. So you said, okay, well, we could do that. And I just thought, okay, he said that so confidently. I'm not really sure. And I kind of had my doubts. I'm like, I don't know. How would you do that? I just like, that was like a whole traumatic thing when I was a kid. You know, is he going to do some big traumatic thing, or, you know, what was he going to do? And I remember just getting up in that chair, and I remember I was just so hopeful. I thought, oh, if this really works, this is going to be absolutely amazing. But having, you know, done the training before that, I thought, no, this is going to work. This will really work, because you know, we had talked about with the unconscious mind, how it works, what it does. You know, the binning, hypnotics, all the different things with the beginning of it, because this was the first NLP, you know, for practitioner. And I remember we started studying it, and I really did love it, because I thought, yeah, I think this is right. I think we can do all these things. You know, this is a very interesting study. So I went in thinking, okay, if I do this, I know it's going to work. And I just remember, you know, as we went through it, yeah, did, you know, my stomach started to churn and all these things because of, you know, how we approached it, and the things that were going into it that I was going to cause me not to like it anymore. Um, and so, yeah, by the end of that, it was just totally gone. And I can honestly say that I have actually thought about it before, because anybody who, like, say, if you've created a habit for long enough, even though you've gone through and done things, crazy things do pop into your head. Like, there was times I, you know, saw a liquor store and I said, oh, I should pull in there and buy that and taste it and see if I'd like it anymore. But as soon as I start thinking about it, my stomach starts to churn, and I literally cannot go in and even purchase it because my stomach churns and I feel like throwing up. And so as soon as I start thinking about it, and I really sit there and think about, okay, I'm going to actually buy this and taste it, my stomach will start to churn. And it still happens. And I still just get an upset stomach. And it's like, no, I don't need to do that. I'm good. It's, you know, and I could even go into, you know, a store and I could see it sitting on the shelves, and I'll just look at it. And instead of thinking, oh, I wonder what that tastes like, I look at it and go, I can't believe there's that many different styles of something that's on the wall that people, you know what I mean? It's like, why can't there just be one style? Why are there 18 of them? Why are there 54 of them up there? I don't get it. You know, it's like, I don't understand. But I have no desire, I have no interest to go and get it or do anything with it. So it's truly amazing. And it really took 10 minutes um, to get to that point. And the other interesting thing is that I have kept track with some of the people that went to the same rehab with me, stayed in there the 6 months or 60 days, the 90 days, finished the program, got their certificate, and graduated. And a lot of the people had fallen off the wagon at some point because they got back out and they didn't have it. But part of that reason is, like, say, the negative programming that goes on in there. Um, you know, if you constantly go to a meeting and call yourself an alcoholic, how are you going to get off of not drinking? If you go in there and say, I'm an addict, right? How are you going to get off of that if you constantly remind yourself every day, this is what I am, this is what I am? Because if you look up the definition of what is an alcoholic and what is an addict, it's somebody either using drugs or somebody that is, you know, has a drinking issue and they're drinking every day and they're doing that. But if you're not doing that, that's not what you are. So like I say, they have this whole negative um, aspect to the training. And I think part of it is, though, is that, you know, they're kind of hoping you might fail, because then where are you going to go if you fail? You're going to go to another treatment, right? And you're going to pay a lot of money. And the other thing is, you know, the cost of my NLP training compared to how much I was paying a month to stay at that place was basically a third of what that was. And I got rid of my issue in 10 minutes. And I didn't have to go someplace for 90 days and not work and not do anything. So to me, that's, you know, I mean, that you can get into an argument that on the side, but it really did work, and it really was that. And the other thing I remember is I remember when I was leaving, and you came up to me and said, now, Brian, when you go back, you're going to notice a lot of negative things now, because of the training, you notice when people are telling you negative things, and you notice positive feedback, right? And so it really opened up my eyes to the negative and the positive flow of everything, how people talk, like I say, getting in, you know, same groove with other people. And so when I went back, that was one of the first things I really noticed when I went back in there, just the constant um, recalling that you have an issue, that you have a problem, you know, and it was very negative. As a matter of fact, I started a whole thing when I was in there. When because if you go to meetings, if you've ever been to an AA meeting or anything, you always stand up and you say, "Hey, my name is this, and I'm this." So most people stand up and say, "Hey, my name is Joe Johnson, and I'm an alcoholic." Right? That's how you start every meeting. That's how we start. We have tons of meetings in there. We have group meetings. We have all kinds of meetings in rehab. So this is like a nonstop thing that you're saying, 4 or 5 times a day, all the time. And so when I got in there and I got back, I said, okay, well, I'm not that anymore. So I have an issue with this. So I just started saying that I was either recovering or I'm recovered, because that's what you are. And people don't seem to get upset with that, except for a few people. Some people say, oh, once you're one, you're always one. And it's like, no, once I had that problem and I didn't know how to solve my issues. So that's what I did. But now I know how to solve my issues. I can look internally. I can get rid of negative feelings. I can use timeline therapy. I can get rid of my negative emotions. I can get rid of all the issues that are bothering me, so those don't come back and haunt me, because that is an issue with drug and alcohol, that you're haunted by the things you did. You stole money, you did things, you lied to a lot of people. That's just an issue with that, because that is common among all addictions. The lying, the different things that you do. So once you can come to grips with that, yeah, and you can let this stuff go, and it doesn't bother you, then like I say, you just look at problems different. I look at different things now. I try to look at where they're coming from in their world, in their representation of their world, when they're complaining, they're doing something. Why are they doing that? Why is their world like that? And that helps me understand how to respond. Because the only thing we can react to is how we're going to respond to situations. And if we can keep it positive, and we can realize where people are coming from, then we can really turn it around, and we can use it and not, be so upset and not do things. Like I say, now I've learned to handle the issues that I have. But you still need to work on that. I think I was just the other day, I was thinking about something where, I had a lot of issues with my father, and I went to the NLP training, and I thought, okay, I got rid of all my negative emotions, right? And I did all these things. So when I went to Master Prac, which was a year later, I went to Master Practitioner training. When we came to that exercise, I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to have much. I'm not going to do anything. Well, I hit a whole different section when I started talking about my dad, because I was raised, and he was an alcoholic. I was raised in the home. And I went through one exercise I thought was be really simple. And I remember doing it with, I think it was Devin Hubbard and like Devin was there. And I thought, oh, it's going to be simple. I'll go through and do this. And I literally broke down into tears, and I was crying. And I don't know if I surprised him. He was just like, oh, it's okay, man, just go through, And so I went through, and I had these emotions and things I had to get out. And I thought I'd already done that one. So once you learn these techniques, what's so great about it is you can keep using them. And just the other day, there was something that had just happened. And when it happened, I started thinking about issues with my dad again. And I'm sitting there going back, and I said, okay, I need to go do some more work, because there's some more things that I really thought I was over, but I'm not. But having been through the training now, I know I have those techniques, and I know how to do that. And I can call people and I can say, okay, hey, I need some timeline therapy here. I want to go through, I got to work on this and this. And I'll be able to go through now and get rid of that. And then I'll be able to overcome that. And then I can just keep going forward and building on that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And this is a key point here, because a lot of times people think, oh, I go to a mental programming training, I'm good for the rest of my life. It's not like that, right? We are giving people the tools so that in case any emotion surfaces, because the unconscious mind keeps the emotion sometimes repressed until we're ready to resolve, until we're at a certain place in our life or in a certain training. So when that time comes, we have the tool. And so it's really making the person stronger, more resilient with tools and strategies, so that they can easily let go of their problem.
Right. It's kind of like you said, we give you the how-to. We don't just give you the what and the why, but we give you the how to take care of it, because that will come up. I mean, you're going to, have situations at work where you're going to become angry, you're going to have things. And, it's, I guess don't want to say it's human nature, but it is kind of human nature for the unconscious mind, like you say, to take things, if you want to deal with it, just take it and put it away for a while, and all of a sudden that'll come up when something totally different happens, and you'll hit that, and all of a sudden you remember that, and you're like, oh, I need to get rid of that. Because once you, like I say, once you get the learnings from whatever it is that happened, that once you get those learnings, yeah, you can let it go because you have the learnings, and then the learnings are stayed with you, and like I say, you just keep progressing and keep building upon those. So it really makes a difference of, like I say, either, I mean, it's nice to have somebody come and say, yeah, let me work on you, let me give you this. But it's even nicer if you go to the training and get the tools and know the tools, then you can say, okay, this can happen again. I don't have to call him. I don't have to go do that. I know how to do this. I can work through this, or you can get somebody to help you and you can work through the problem again. So
Yeah. And I will say this too, those 10 minutes that you experience, it was a build up to it, right? Because
yeah,
previous to that 10 minutes, one of the biggest conversation, most important conversation that was really quite a simple conversation was that anything that we call addiction, right? The word presupposes the person can't help themselves. So we got to
right.
get rid of that identity, which you already mentioned. Another thing is any and all addiction comes up because someone has some unfulfilled unconscious desires and they were just never actually supplied or supported with that fulfillment. So it was really easy, and I mean it helps that you're a really smart guy, so it was instantaneous. You just knew, oh, I know what I actually need, and when I have that, I wouldn't actually even want alcohol or anything, even if we didn't do that 10 minute, right? And then of course we seal the deal with the 10 minute, and then all of a sudden you definitely don't want that. It's like a pathway, right? In the past, you used to go to alcohol, but then now we're like, wait, there's something more desirable here, and then we block off the road to alcohol. It's like there's no way you would go back. So I do want to bring up something real quick. So you brought up negative programming, right? Because it's sometimes when people go home, right, after you've been trained, people that knew the person that had the old habits would say, hey, how's that going, or like will remind you of what you used to do. How did you deal with that? How did you overcome and let that go? I think this will really benefit people to hear.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And I think it will for anybody, like say, if they think they have an addiction problem and they really want to get rid of it, you can get rid of it. There was, a few things that we did learn. And like I say, the rehab I went to, I did like it, because like I say, it wasn't just you guys have issues, we're going to dry you out and you just got to white knuckle it. It was like, no, you guys have issues because you're not dealing with situations like, you know, your guilt, your shame. You gotta deal with that. And like I say, when you're in those, you do have a lot of that. And like I say, you gotta let go of all that negative emotion because you're feeling guilty that you did it. You're feeling unworthy. You're feeling very down about things. Um, and the hard part is that once you come out of that, and like say all your friends and everybody knows that you had that, yeah, they're gonna still see the old you. So what you got to remember is their interpretation of your reality was the old you, but that's not you anymore. So you got to kind of just you got to let that go as part of that. It's like say a lot of the negative emotions, negative things. Realize that you're a different person now, and all you can do is go out and say, I'm really sorry that I was that person that did that. I let you down. I'm not that person anymore. I don't have that issue. And you can even tell them, yeah, I've been clean for 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is. I haven't had any issues with that anymore. I found out what the cause of that was, and I've dealt with that. So now I don't, I don't use that for a run anymore. So I can handle this. And I think, and then once the people see you where you're not doing that, then it's easier for them. Because yeah, like I say, a lot of times people, they stole from somebody. They took money because they needed to feed their habit. You do different things. You lie to people, so people don't trust you. So yeah, a lot of times it just takes time, and all you can do at that point is say, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I lied to you. I know I broke the trust, but I'm not that same person anymore. I'm improved. I don't need that. So all I can do is, show you that I'm a better person, and if you hang in there with me, you'll see that I am a better person. And then once they see the changes actually happened, and they'll see the transformation from that, and once they see that, then they're like, oh, it must be something going on with this. What happened?
Genuine approach, and patience too is key,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah, exactly. But like I say,
it?
you have to remember how they're seeing you, their representation of the world. They're seeing you as what you were before. So yeah, you were cheating, you were lying, you were doing all these things. They don't think people can change, right away. So yeah, it's going to take a little time for them to see that you have changed. So don't give up. If you go to somebody and ask them for forgiveness and they don't give it to you, that's all you can do is say, hey, I went and I did my part. I asked them for forgiveness. If they're not going to give it to you for a while, just bear with them. Just be patient. The time will come. They will see the difference and they will see the change. And then they'll say, wow, this dude's really changed. And they probably might even ask you, like, wow, how'd you do that change, guy? I mean, I can't believe this. This is like not the old you. And then you can tell them, say, oh, well, I went and I did some NLP and I did the training and I can do this now. And did you know that you don't, and you can start talking to them about it, and they'll see it. It does sometimes take a time to do that.
Wonderful answer. Thank you. Now, let me ask you another question then. What advice would you give the audience that, if they ever, and it doesn't have to be for alcohol or drugs or anything, it could just be any and all things that people may call addiction, or even just a habit that they want to get rid of. What do you recommend people do to be able to let that go easily? Besides, obviously, go to the training, take the training, practice, right? I mean, of course, you can say that too. So what would you recommend people do?
I would recommend what you told me. I remember when we first met, it was at my house when we were walking around, you were asking me questions about, what did I think about NLP? Do you think I could change? I remember you asked me at one point, you said, when I had that, you said, okay, so instead of going out and drinking, you said, what did you want to do instead? What do you want instead? And I remember when you asked me that, I really had to sit and think. And it's like, well, I would rather go exercise. I would rather, maybe, work on my business, go, do a run, do something. But, I just a different way of approaching and handling that issue is kind of the same thing. Because I remember when I was doing the ARP because I wanted to go and help encourage people to realize they could get over their addictions and over their things, that they really weren't that person. That was just an escape they were using. I remember a gal came in and she wanted to get off sugar. And I thought, wow, that's going to be hard. And I'm thinking, and then I started thinking, well, wait a minute, that's not hard. You just have to really decide what you want instead. And so I actually had a conversation with her and I said, yeah, I think that's really admirable. You want to get off sugar because, yeah, sugar is really bad. I mean, it causes a lot of health issues. And in her life, it was causing a lot of health issues. She would, constantly munching on cookies and doing things. But for her, it was hard because she had kids and the kids wanted to have sweets and treats and things. And so, she was really struggling with it. And so I remember walking up to her and asking her and said, well, have you ever thought, what did you want instead? It's like, if you're sitting at home and you see those cookies and you wanted to go take a bite, have you ever thought, what do I want instead of that though? Do I want to go take a 10-minute walk? Do I want to go grab, some celery? Do I want to go get something else? But I'd rather do that instead of munching on that, which I know is going to be really bad for me. And it's going to just bring me down. Then I'm going to feel guilty. And then I'm going to feel less self-worth. I said, so that really kind of helped me think of that. What do you want instead? Instead of whatever you were doing, what do you want instead of that? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be healthy? And I think that helped me a lot, is like, what do you want instead? So if you follow that, and then say, yeah, I would go to somebody, if you know somebody that knows NLP, and say, hey, is there a way you can help me with this? If you want to do the training, I think it's great. I think it's money well invested, to invest in yourself, to do that. Like I say, to me, if I'd have gone to you instead of going to the rehab, I would have saved a lot of money. So there is, if you're looking at monetarily, there is that. But yeah, what do you want instead? I mean, I think that's a major question. It's just like, if you're unhappy, well, what do you want instead? If you're miserable, why are you miserable? We need, go get that, what you want instead. Focus on that. Get that into there. Make plans to achieve that. And I think that will help you. Even if you don't do the training, just what I want instead. Focus on that. Make that become your fine focal point. Set up what you're going to do to be able to create that, and you're going to be able to do it, because your mind is so powerful. You can create anything you want. You really can. I mean, anybody can become anything in the world they want. And if you think about it, all the great athletes, they want to become great athletes. What they do, they poured tons of time and focused on becoming a great athlete. And what did they become? They became a great athlete. So we are what we become. I mean, we are what we focus into our lives. So that's it.
Yeah, that is a wonderful comment. And I must say this, even, yes, the training makes it that much easier to remove old baggage and have the tools to deal with negative things, and also program the minds to automate the process of focusing on what they want. They still have to choose to focus on what they want.
Yep.
So someone could take the training and in fact go through all our trainings and choose not to focus on what they want. We can't do it for them. That's why it's a do with process, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, we could give someone a lightsaber, but if they don't use it, right? Even after we train them on how to use the lightsaber or the force, if they don't use it, they're like everyone else. So that is a wonderful comment. Focusing on what you want is key. So is there any last minute comment that you want to share with people? Because I'm so grateful that you were able to jump on with us. I think this has been tremendously valuable for people to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I have another really short story, which is comical to me, and I'll try to get through really fast. So I've just had knee surgery recently. I replaced my right knee. But what happened was right after the training I did with you, I went to this doTERRA conference because it was right after that. And so I ended up going to that. And, I had pain in my knee. I couldn't, if I sat for a long time, I got up. I mean, the cartilage was all gone in there. I was bone to bone grinding, doing all this stuff. And it just had caused me a lot of pain. I remember sitting there and I just had the training. So, all the training's fresh in my head. And I remember sitting there and this emergency room doctor came up, Dr. Andrew, and he says, there's no such thing as chronic pain. And I thought, wow, he's talking to me. I don't want chronic. I hate this chronic pain, right? And I remember at some point through that thing, he just said 3 times, he just looked out the audience and said, there's no such thing as chronic pain. And he repeated it 3 times. I took that into my mind and said, Brian, there's no such thing as chronic pain. You can do this. You're not going to have any knee problems. You're not going to do anything. Literally that afternoon, my knee quit hurting. That was 2 years ago. So for 2 years, I didn't have pain in my right knee. So now my knee it's 12-degree angle. I mean, my bottom of my legs 12 degrees out. So I'm having issues walking. I noticeably limp because my knee is so bad, but I had 0 pain in it. So I went to doctors, orthopedic doctors, because I said, yeah, I really need to do something with my knee. And they said, well, describe the pain. And so the first time I went, I said, well, I don't have any pain. And they looked at me and they go, well, we can't help you then. I go, well, look at my knee. And they took x-rays and everything. They look at my x-rays. They're saying, yeah, you're bone to bone. It's 12 degrees out, but you don't have any pain. So we don't want to help you. And I'm like, well, no, wait a minute. And I tried to explain to him the reason I don't have any pain. I go, well, have you ever heard of NLP? I'm trying to talk to him about, and these are medical doctors been doing this for years, right? And they just look at me with this blank look and they're like, no, I've never heard that. I don't get it. And I said, well, you can block pain with your mind and you don't, have to be on pain meds or anything. And anyways, they all thought I was crazy. So I finally had to go in there and just tell them, yeah, it's about an 8-level pain. I need to do this and that. And they finally replaced it. But yeah, if you walk into a doctor and tell them you have no pain, they don't want to see you. So it was really funny because I could not explain to him enough how NLP worked. But I literally went 2 years with no pain in that knee. And now I don't have any pain. It was because now I have a new knee. But before I didn't have any. And so your mind is very powerful. You can almost achieve things that you think are impossible. I never would thought I'd not have pain in that knee till I got a new one. But because of my training, I just come out of that training, I used it. It just locked it in there. And my mind, I don't know, it blocked all the pain. I never had pain in that knee. But anything you want is possible. You just have to want it enough and follow it. But the mind is extremely strong. So, I mean, anything you want, you can achieve.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll see you again, Brian. There's many, I would love to ask you more questions. And I think that the audience is hungry for more, including myself. I want to hear more of your stories, and also never got to even talk about, what your wife experienced. Love to bring her on at some point as well, because she achieved some pretty marvelous things within her real estate business.
Actually, this last year, she just broke a new record and achieved a new
level
above what she set before. So it was like just incredible. And even going through all this COVID thing, you would think, oh, everything changed, but it actually was like her best year ever. And like I said, she has the things. And so she's, in her work, she's really got it dialed in with that. She just believes she's going to have, a great successful year, and she just goes in it. And like I say, things fall in place. She asks the right questions at the right time of people she normally wouldn't think of. All of a sudden she thinks of a question that, like I say, the unconscious mind will really help you achieve all the things you want. You just have to truly focus on that, and it'll happen for you.
Before you go, then let me say this, because I remember when you guys came to the training, it was like 2019, right? Or was it 18?
18. It was 18. And 2019 was Master Prac, I think.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was 2018. And it was end of summer when your wife said, hey, I have this goal. Because I said, hey, look, you know, if you're going to come to training, you got to have that one thing, right? What's the one thing that when you achieve it will make this the best training ever? And she said, I want to be number one. And then I remember getting a text from her in end of, well, no, December 12th, 2018. So only 3 months or so later, she sent me a text with her holding the award thing that says she was number one. And I still remember she told me before training, she said, I don't think it's possible because the guy is at 11 million and he sold so much real estate. I'm not close. But how much did she beat him? Was it like what, $8 million? So she came out like 19 mil in sales.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was like the record. And then this year she actually beat that. She came out with like 25. So it was like another crazy thing, but same thing, you know, I think she just kind of focuses on it. And like I say, a lot of times, you know, she even says that, yeah, I didn't think about asking that question. Now I ask questions I wouldn't normally do. And, you know, she's more positive that, you know, she says it, it's going to happen. So.
Oh my gosh. And
amazing.
I think this will be great news. So we're adding some new content to the training. So make sure that you guys take a look. I mean, this is not just you, Brian, and your wife, but like everyone who's watching, who's been a part of our practitioner training. And we have added some new content already, and they're significantly more condensed. So it'll help you, and we'll continue to add more. So feel free to go in and review some of those content. It will be, who knows, may hit another record number again.
Yeah,
right?
Probably. And then, yeah, I recommend everybody just go back and listen. I still listen to your tapes that I got from, you know, my master practitioner training. And I still value those because I'll have days where I sit and listen to that and go, okay, yeah, I really need to focus more on this. And like I say, because you're out in the world, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And, you know, you have to really focus on those things. So I still enjoy listening to those. So if anybody has tapes from William, I'd highly recommend listening to those. And I listen to them usually in my truck when I'm doing trips. And you know, and I think back of, you know, where I was and where I am now, it's, yeah, been quite a change.
You've let that go since September 2018.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good work, Brian.
And like I said, I can walk into a store and see it, and it's just like, it's like looking at coffee on the shelf now. It's like, it's so funny because it's exactly what we told me. And at the time I had some doubts, but now it's like, nope, it can be achieved. You can do it. You can achieve anything you want. You can, you know, improve your life. So yeah, I highly recommend that.
Hey, thank you again for your time today. Really appreciate you. And we'll see you again, I'm sure. And we'll love to ask you more questions another time. And
sure.
Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you around, everyone. And Brian, once again, thank you. I can't say enough thank you. This was very valuable.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. You, like I say, I've always tell you that. I always send you text saying, William, thank you. You changed my life, because you truly did. And I really appreciate it.
It's been an honor, Brian. It's been my honor. I'll see you soon. We'll keep in touch. Take care.
Bye.